Me?
Yeah.
I'm from Seattle originally, but I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona now. I was in California last week when we were doing this. I was on a tiny phone, and now I'm in Scottsdale. I've lived in Scottsdale since 2008.
Very cool. I got
Where
you.
are you, Steve?
Right now I'm in Florida. I'm in Delray, right above Miami. But
Okay.
we're about to. I mean, you talking rock and roll? There you go. I'm looking at his things. I'm putting my Cubans on a 55 city tour. I got Cuban, as the United States says, horrible human beings into the United States to tour. That's a hard trick. And all when you go there, you're going to have a night in Havana.
It's touring. Will it come to Arizona?
I'm going to be in Arizona and Tucson. Yes,
Okay.
you're my
Let's
guest, and you can sit
check out.
backstage. And to me, rock and roll is not just guitars. Rock and roll, like Jesus was a rock and roller. Anyway, question me. Ask me whatever you want.
Okay, so rest in peace. Ozzy Osbourne dies today. So what is your? I mean, my condolences because you knew him personally. What is your reaction to this news?
To be as straight up as I can, not that I'm not straight up, but I'm just giving you naked truth because I thought about it. I think I told you guys in the last interview that I wouldn't give him much longer to live. He lived for what Sharon did. And let's tell the truth, because the truth is different when you're living it and you're fighting the ocean and the ocean is pulling you in its drift and it's going here or there and you're swaying. But when you get out of the ocean and you look back and you reflect it, I want to honor Sharon because I've had my ups and downs with Sharon, but I have my ups and downs with everyone, you know? But the one thing I do is tell the truth. She kept Ozzy alive. And I don't care what you think of Sharon. Her job was to keep Ozzy alive. She knew his genius. I saw her fall for him, or whatever you call it. I saw that magnetic energy that happens. And it is an energy, it's the breath of life, because for whatever reason, your two polar energies all of a sudden realize they need each other. And you feed off each other and you create one. You know, you go to school and they teach you 1 + 1 is 2. And I got thrown out of school because I was a wise guy when I said to him, if 1 + 1 equals 2, how does one mommy Machat and one daddy Machat now equals 6 Machats? And didn't understand the following. 1 + 1 is only 2 if you can't create together. If you're an orange and you're an apple, you're one orange, one apple. So there's two fruits, right?
Yeah, but so
But
with
if you
Ozzy and Sharon, you said that she saved him. So what if Ozzy did not meet Sharon? What is his path? Like, where does he go? Do you think he just drug overdose and dies?
Yep, 100%.
Well,
But
hold
he
on,
was
hold on. I'm going to interject here, right? It goes back to the last meeting, and then we'll get to this tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, the legend, the icon. But 1979, Sharon's not as much in the picture as she's being told by Dawn and David, hey, you got to kind of watch this guy.
Let me make it even more for you.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the picture.
Even better. That's where I was getting at.
Okay, so here we go. It's
She had nothing to do with
1979.
the band. She had nothing to do with the band. David and Dawn were running the show.
No, here's your whole show. You ready?
No.
It's 1979, and I did not want to live in New York. I didn't. And my father's like, I did this, I did that. And I'm like, Dad, A, I'm not sitting and wearing a suit. That ain't fucking happening. And B, I need to go do what I could do. And I'll talk to anyone. Matter of fact, I'd rather talk to real people, the salt of the earth, like Mick Jagger, who wrote that song. I like the salt of the earth. I don't like these make-believe people who are holier than whole. What is it? Like I'm going to Santa Fe in a couple of days with the band. We're playing Albuquerque, my band, the Buena Vista Orchestra. And you talking rock and roll? This is pure rock and roll. Touring a Cuban band in the United States where we've been weaponized to go pick up Latinos, no matter if they're Americans or not. And I don't think there's many Americans left in America that is more than 4 generations deep. We're all invaders of this lost ark. And in my life, I put out Indian music, and it was the most creative thing I ever did. I sat with these Indian tribes, and I'm segueing. I'll come right back to you.
Steven,
Yeah.
what type of Indian? Are you talking about native or Indian?
Yeah, native Indians.
Okay, all right.
By the way, I also dealt with the Indians over. I've lived everywhere.
Oh,
And I'm so
you're
honored I could do this.
ubiquitous, man. You're all over the place.
And I'm so happy I
Literally
could do this.
speaking, Yeah.
So it's
I've lost
1979.
control of my own show. This is great, though. I just keep.
So it's 1979, and Don had a hard-on that couldn't be relieved for Patrick Meehan. Okay, so all of a sudden, Black Sabbath came to see Don. Who is Patrick Meehan? He was one of the Triumphs, which I tell you about in this book. Okay, I tell you the gangsters of England. I even give you the story of the Cray brothers, right? So Don had a hard-on for him, and all of a sudden, Black Sabbath wanted to see him. Now, my father and I, using Dad, I got people out of contracts because I don't give a shit. You could sue me all day. I don't care. If I'm right, I'm right. And I don't want to work for the establishment because the establishment makes living life hell. You came here to dream. You came here to live a dream. You came here and you're looking for partners to create your dream, to create whatever dream it is. So Don sells Black Sabbath. I've got this young lawyer for you, and he's going to be our lawyer, and his father's Marty Machat. And Steven will do what we need to do. We're going to take you off Warner Brothers. Now, they were on Warner Brothers and they were on Polygram overseas, two different deals. When they joined Warner Brothers, I'm going to tell you it's 1969. I could be wrong. So if you're fact checking me, whatever. It's whatever. They put out the first album there. And when I heard that first album, it was so dark. It was really cool. I thought I was sitting in the haunted house at Disney. You know, I figured this would be great music, like Paranoid and Disney on the ride where you go into the haunted house. Anyway, I sat there with him, and all four of them were there. And I had a straight man named John Lear, who was my buddy from law school, who my goal was to take over the music industry. My goal was to create the ultimate record management company where we represented all the energies from all over the world. So I met Ozzy and the other three guys. We're all sitting there, we're talking. And then Ozzy looks at me and he just smiles he goes, yeah, you want to see how fucked up I am? And he goes like this. And he goes, look how I spelt my name. Ozzy. And I said, yeah. He said, my name is Ozzie. I said, but sometimes why, right? And he says to me, you're looking up. Yeah, exactly.
So
Sometimes
you and I
why.
have taught. We've had conversations between you and me, and there is something interesting about like Randy used to write Ozzie, and a lot of people thought he couldn't spell or what was he doing.
No.
Ozzy
That
went
was
by
Ozzy's real
Ozzie.
name. He was Ozzy, Ozzzie. It's
Yeah,
5 letters, right?
yeah.
That's the truth. But he changed it, and I said to him, and I was sitting with John, and my friend, my associate, whatever, he flipped out when he met these people. And I said to him, "What? You spelled it right. It's Ozzie, and sometimes Y. So you only had four knuckles." And then he's telling me,
Should on the thumb though.
no, that you had to hide. You know, remember when you used to talk with that? So who was that? That was Sherry Lewis. What's
Oh,
that?
lamb chop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, lamb chop.
Pretty crazy shit. So anyway, what happened was I kept talking to him, and he said to me, "Do you think you could handle someone that gets fucked up sleeping on the park benches every day?" And I looked at him. I go, "Look, I handle Phil Spector. How could I not handle you?" So anyway, we decided to go forward, and they kept coming into the office. We were at 2049 Century Park East. The buildings that went like this, right? They rotated, and I'm from Miami. At that stage is where I came out of, and we didn't have central air conditioning when I lived here in Miami. And then I got into central air conditioning first in those LA buildings, and I got so upset because it was 60 degrees. And I'm like, why is it 60 degrees? I have to wear winter clothing here. I wasn't used to it. And it's still the same way. You go to a Miami Marlin game, all of a sudden it's 65 degrees. You just walked out at 95 degrees. It's like they're in a conspiracy with the clothing company. But anyway, he sat there and I liked Ozzy. And Ozzy and I got into history. Ozzy knew history. And I will talk history with you all day because I don't know everything. And I need to know what you know because you're going to open my eyes to discover the energies that make Earth. The energies are called the Muses or the Oishas or the Jiminis or, Tinkerbell, who you just discovered was Don Arden in my book cover. He was the energy that created all this. Don was a wild man, and I'm just remembering, and we could do another one later on. But right now, this is to honor the energy of Ozzy. He was the Prince of Darkness. The whole matrix of Earth is darkness. You live here, and you must kill living energies and eat those living energies. This is a vampire matrix. You sit here and you live a life and you create a family, and nothing ever goes right because you were trained like a beast. And I'll get spiritual with you. You have 7 chakras. The first 3 chakras are your tushy, your organs, and your penis. That is what every beast has. Okay? And it's sex dominated. But those are the 3 energies of a beast. You live, you need to survive. You need to feed yourself. You need to discrete what's not needed in your body, give it back to earth so it can give it to somebody else. And you need to stay alive, but you've got your heart. And then when you get out of your heart, you go to your throat, you can communicate. You go to your third eye here, where you can go hear from the Oishas, the muses. Ozzy was there, as was Bob Daisley. I'm going there because you asked me a question before there. Bob Daisley was one of the best interpreters when he was living with Madman Ozzy in LA in England when they put together the bands in the Blizzard of Oz. He knew what Ozzy would sing, like Crazy Train. I'll tell you what that means. Crazy Train. You're an energy living in your body. Your body is your caboose. He was crazy living in that body because he couldn't figure out why he couldn't fly. And that's the truth. You are run by a body. You can't get out. You're an
So,
energy before you get in your body.
so
You can go
let
wherever
me
you
ask.
want.
Yeah,
Go.
let me ask Stephen. And part of the reason we're here is because of Ozzy's second band, the Blizzard of Oz. Obviously, he did great things in Black
By the
Sabbath.
way, I think it was his 4th band, right? There were 2 before Black Sabbath.
Okay, there were 2 incarnations, including Necromandus
Yeah.
band, and then there was another band that came in. So really, Bob, Lee, Randy Rhoads, and Ozzy are the third incarnation of the Blizzard of Oz. Obviously, the most successful one. Obviously, the classic one. You're talking about energies. The formation of a band that creates masterful output is. Would you believe those energies were meant to be drawn to each other to create?
100%.
Okay.
100%. And what happened? And it doesn't last forever.
Right.
Like, I'm just, my whole life has been because of my father before me. All these British bands, because whatever went on in England, whatever was in the water after World War II, they created some of the most creative idolists imaginable. You know, I ended up with representing Black Joy after Robert Plant left them. And these people were trying to sell Black Joy as Robert Plant's own band. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Robert Plant is a vocalist, and he's the muse's voice that could attract you. They got mad at me because I sat there and I'm like, why would people buy Band of Joy unless they have that vocalist? Robert Plant is not in Band of Joy. They didn't have hit songs. There was a band called Slade that I ended up representing for a few hours. That was the biggest hit Quiet Riot had.
Well, so now you're gonna tie in Randy Rhoads
Yes.
founded Quiet Riot,
Yep.
and if he never joined Ozzy, people speculate if he would have been part of the Kevin DuBrow Pasha deal that made Mental Health. That did the story is Kevin didn't want to have anything to do with the Slade cover, but they forced him to do it, and it
Because
was
it was
so
a hit
good.
song.
Yeah,
And it just didn't work, right?
and
You,
they did 2 covers actually.
yeah.
Mama, We're All Crazy Now, also on the next
There
album.
was another band called UK, right? In UK, I managed Eddie Jobson. My dad managed, we were partners. He managed John Wetton after they broke up. UK was a great band. We had Genesis, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel. You know, bands last so long, and what they do is they figure out how to plow more lands. And there's 2 types of bands. And when you're plowing the land, if you're agricultural based, but if you're spiritually based, everything's agriculture. You need it to grow. So you plant seeds. So Randy Rhoads and Bob Daisley and Ozzy out of his body and living in what I call the 5th, 6th, and 7th chakras was not ready to be grounded. Lee Kerslake played the drums. The drums ground you. They keep you earth based, you know. And with Peter Gabriel, there was one song he did, where he's talking about the drums, the rhythm of the beat, whatever. It's all about and how the earth has a beat. It does. It's the matrix. That's why bass and drums are very important in rock and roll. It grounds you. It keeps you here because the electronics take you away. You just disappear. And I've had it because I'll go with you unless someone grounds me. I'll take off. I ended up with some of the first electronic bands ever while I was working with Ozzy. I was have Steven will travel. Give me a ticket give me a ticket or an airplane. I don't care. I would go. And I had a band called Space, which had an electronic master. It was fantastic, Magic Fly. And I was doing this all when I was with Ozzy. And Ozzy was fascinated how I could work with so many different energies. And Ozzy and I seriously would have history talks. Like when he peed on the Alamo, right? And we had our serious, and he didn't pee on the Alamo, by the way, but he peed right down the street from the Alamo. And what happened was,
Do people know that? Is that well known that he actually didn't pee on the Alamo?
No, it's the assumption is it's always there's an anniversary celebrated. It says he peed on the Alamo, which is why he got banned. But
Yeah.
he didn't actually pee on the Alamo. Nevertheless, he got banned, and that is the and actually, I think in Steven's book, there's a lot of myth to Ozzy Osbourne and the
Right.
aura. And Sharon Rhoads in the 80s. Now, if Ozzy Osbourne had existed now with social media and a little bit more of a woke culture, there is risk to doing stupid bad things. Back in the 80s, Sharon rode the philosophy of like, if they're not talking about you, that's bad. There's no such thing as bad PR.
Well,
Finding that
there's
out
people
bad,
writing that thing
peeing
now
on
too,
the
Dave.
Alamo, you know, I mean, imagine if he tried to kill his wife now. I mean, if he tried to kill Sharon, said in the mid 90s, he would be in a lot of trouble. But people like, he's a crazy madman. It's everything. Like, I was a kid, I was 12, 13 years old, and you're like, Ozzy bit the head off of two doves at the CBS meeting. He
yep,
beheaded a bat.
Were you
This
there for that,
guy's a
Steven?
legend. I love
I
him.
was there. He took it out of his thing like this, and he went,
No,
and
no, no. You were where at the CBS meeting?
I was right next to him. He
Okay,
was
so you knew he had
That's
two
fucking
doves.
crazy.
Now tell the
what?
story. He was supposed to release them into the
Yeah,
air.
yeah. And he was so upset that he was on CBS and not Capitol, and we had no choice because CBS was our founder. No, funder. I said the wrong word. I told you in the last episode. I had to kill the CBS the
Capitol
Capitol deal.
Records.
And that's why EMI had the first two ELO albums because Don sold it to him, and he also sold it to Warner Brothers. And I was having a heyday because I was with these, call them pirates, but the whole world are pirates. This whole crypto shit is piracy. You're sitting there with crypto and they're telling you, oh, we're going to do this. No, anyone listening to me, listen to me. It all becomes a dollar. You're paying new third parties to transform your crypto mines into US dollars. And you are paying the piper not once, but twice and three times. It's all a game. Life is a game. You have third parties called bankers, whatever you want to call them, you have to remove. And the beauty of music, why I'm attracted to it, as opposed to movies, in music, you make it. There's no education. You're not as brainwashed. You are not required. The people that understand how to make a song and how to put it here and there, they're not the most creative persons. Ozzy Osbourne, he sat there and he could sing, he could harmonize. And by the way, I used to tell people he harmonized. I would tell Leonard Cohen. I said, Leonard, he sounds like you. And Leonard Cohen's father was a cantor. That's Leonard Cohen's whole thing. And so with Ozzy, we were discussing, and when I got him out I made him legit again after he peed on the Alamo. He's looking at me, he goes, I don't understand this. I go, what don't you understand? He goes, you have all, he says to me, you have all Mexicans guarding the Alamo. You fought the Mexicans to get the Alamo. And I said, who's we? He said, the United States. I said, Ozzy, let me help you. He goes, what? I said the United States did not fight the Mexicans to get the Alamo at the Alamo. Those were the Texans. And the U.S. had mercenaries from different states. and the mercenaries came in there to help Texas get its freedom. And Texas is the only nation to succeed two nations to sell slaves. And anyway, he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, they were fighting the Mexicans to get their freedom. They got their freedom. And then the United States invaded Mexico because they wanted California and the other territories to complete the Manifest Destiny. And then they incorporated Texas in that battle too. He looks at me, he starts laughing, he goes, "Fucking, I knew you would know history." I had so much fun with him. One day we were in Germany and he fascinated me. Because one day we're in Germany and he's upset he's on CBS and he's upset he's in Germany. He really did this. And they don't tell you what I'm telling you. He sat and got up inside, I'm calling it a discotheque, or whatever you want to call it. It was around 1983. And he got on the table and peed on the German, the head of CBS Germany. It's listed that he did a jig. He didn't do no Irish jig. He peed on the guy. And what he did was, the head of CBS Germany wrote letters to Walter Yetnikoff telling him that he can't work with Ozzy. And Walter wrote him back. He goes, "I understand if you want to submit your resignation. But right now, Ozzy sells music and we sell music. And there are no morals to music. So if you want to resign, great." And I asked Ozzy, I said, "Why did you really do that?" And he said, "Because in World War I, the Germans killed all his family members. And I never got to meet uncles who would have been my uncles if I was alive then." And there's a lot of truth to that. And few people understand, in 1914, you want to have a dysfunctional family? Queen Victoria, right? So she dies, and then the King of England is her grandchild now. Then the the Kaiser, which means king, is the King of Germany, right? And then the female czar in Russia, is another first cousin of Queen Victoria. So you had three nations go to war, and they were first cousins. And they killed, I don't know, 40 million people? And what did they go to war over? And then they gave us World War II, and they gave us the dysfunctional world we live in right now. But if I go back further, the world was never dysfunctional. We hate people. And with Peter Gabriel, it's the song that he did called Games Without Frontiers. Listen to it. You know? It's Ozzy, I really feel for him, but now I'm fast forwarding. I had my problems with Sharon. I discussed it with you. But the truth is, I honor Sharon. The manager, the leader of a band is to protect the band, to keep all the mainstays away, because they need to be left alone. They're human beings. They need their own quiet time, and they need their own honor. She did that. And she did everything she could to make Ozzy the top dog. She
How did
happened
she
to have
do
done a
that?
great job.
That's what I'm so fascinated though, because he was big in Black Sabbath in the 70s, and then he made it through the 80s hair metal, and then he was still big in grunge, and then he was still big to like he just kept transcending all the trends. How did he
But
do that? Was
it's
that
the
a
same
business thing that
trends.
Sharon was doing?
No, it's the same trends. The trend is he's out of physical mind. He's in touch with the muses. That's my other book. That's the whole
It's your
book.
new book.
Yeah, my new book. And I'm not selling my book. I'm telling you the truth because no one will tell this to you. And anyone that's creative, here's what I'm saying. You have dreams at night. You are speaking with the muses. You are a vehicle. You are sitting there and you are receptive to the sounds that you could hear in your body, which in human's body is 7 notes. And it's a beautiful thing. And if we understand that these muses are nothing but troublemakers,
So
that's
then
all they are.
what is Ozzy's religion? Because he was accused of being a Satan worshiper,
Church
but
of
then I
England
saw
is what
something
he
that
told
said he
us.
was Christian and he prayed
Yeah,
before every concert.
he's Church of England is what he told people.
Yeah, Church of England.
And the
Is that
Yeah,
Church of
real?
England was Anglican, and you know what they did? They became a church when King Henry VIII couldn't get divorced from his wife, who was related to the people that united Spain, the Queen of Castile and the King of Aragon, right? And so what happens? That was the heyday for the Vatican. They took over the Iberian Peninsula, and the Vatican wasn't going to let him get divorced from their favorite king and queen, Isabel and whatever her name, Fernando. So what happened is they wouldn't let him get divorced. He told them to fuck off. So anyway, that was Catherine of Aragon, right? So what he did was, when he told the Pope to fuck off, me being Henry VIII, great song by the way, and my dad's band that he represented, Herman's Hermits, Henry VIII, I am. What a crazy song. But anyway, and I was raised with all these people telling me where the songs came from. But anyway, what went on there? He divorced the church, and he created the Anglican Church, which had the same book of prayers, the same everything, but a new owner. The King of England became the Pope of England. And he copied basically Julius Caesar going back to Roman days. There's nothing new about anybody. There's nothing new about, but the Anglican Church was the King of England's church. And by the way, you talking about a vampire religion? To go sit with God, you have to drink. The word hocus pocus comes from that. You have to drink the blood of Jesus as he transforms into God, Christ, before he becomes the Holy Ghost, which is the ethereal spirit. You have to drink that and eat the flesh. That's cannibalism. Am I right or wrong? Think about it.
Well,
Right.
now we've gone
Right.
way far.
What?
Right.
I don't. Yeah, back to the Dove incident. Yeah, can we get?
You
I
go
do want
back
to go
to,
back to
look,
that.
we're sitting in this office. I'm telling you, there's a guy named Myron. By the way, he flipped me out. I mean, Phil Spector one day flipped me out when he shot out the ceiling. And all I knew is I have a poker face, so I make believe it doesn't bother me. But when I get out of there, I'm like, what the fuck did I just witness? And I would have to go and throw water on my head or whatever I used to do, and maybe take a line or two or whatever, and it's all truth. Like, I love my country, America. Coca-Cola, bingo. That much Coke was in every bottle of Coca-Cola. And when the United States entered World War One, no one understands this. They brought Coca-Cola to the lines in France. And you know what the Allies did? We were an affiliate. We were not an ally, the U.S. We were an affiliate. So as an affiliate, we brought Coke. And you know what they did with the Coke? They drank it. Now they're up. And they sat there and boom, boom, boom. And then, just to give you a quick segue, then what they did is the Japanese realized that Woodrow Wilson was a racist. He thought slanted eyes are not equal to white Christians. And he told them that they are not equal nations in the League of Nations. So they basically figured the formula of cocaine, and they came up with the thing called methamphetamines. They shared it with the Nazis. The Nazis started marketing amphetamines to their army soldiers, and they had what was called the Blitzkrieg. They would give them these black beauties, and that's how they ran all through Africa in 72 hours. And after 72 hours, no one stays up 96 hours because they're useless. You've got 72 hours of energy on your voltage. And then what the English did is they figured out how to market it. And in the 60s, they gave it to women to make them skinny so they could be twiggies. Anyway, that's my interpretation of what went on there. And in England, Ozzy was a student of England. And they wanted to become richer than rich. They didn't want to become servants. And they became gods, these English singers. They became gods. And Black Sabbath, as I wrote in here, copied the Druzes, Druze, which was an energy that predated Christianity, and Ozzy was well versed in history. They knew what they needed to know.
All right. So I want to tie something into
Focus me.
what Chuck said. Yeah, we're going to center you. Don't worry about that, Stephen.
No, focus
So uh, Chuck was talking about how did Ozzy transcend all these changes in music. But really, in 1978, 79, the music industry had kind of written Ozzy off. They thought this guy was fired. He's a drunk. He's on drugs. We're, we don't think he's ever going to come back. And then he finds these energies, as Steven would say, and he forms this magical band that suddenly you hear Blizzard of Oz and you're like, holy shit, he's
Yeah,
done.
right?
The
When
guy's
you
done.
hear Crazy Train,
Created a better band than Black Sabbath, possibly. So,
it
uh,
had better, it had energy you could play at ball games.
it did.
Okay?
It absolutely, and then the follow up. But anyway, so let's get back to the Dove incident, as YT was pointing out. We want to hear this. So you're in the room, which is never mentioned. We all thought it was Sharon and Ozzy. She has this idea that Ozzy's going to throw these doves at this the ceremonial meeting with CBS. And
That's absolutely not true, by the way.
what
Even
is
though
not?
that was not true.
What's not true?
There was no ceremonial shit.
Well, they're having a meeting.
We're having a meeting
We're going to
to
introduce
get.
Ozzy.
We're having a meeting to get the publicity satch. There was a
Yes.
guy named Pat Siciliano who was in the meeting with me. There was Myron Roth, and there was a guy named Tony Martell. Sharon was there. Ozzy was there. It was 1981, I believe it was in March, to announce the signing of CBS, not Jet, Princess Productions, which was a company with me and Sharon.
Okay, so he was supposed to let the doves fly,
No,
but then
no. There was no doves flying.
Okay, so the whole thing was he brought the doves to bite the head to fuck with people.
I don't know what he did, but you know what he did? I don't know why he did it,
Yeah.
but I do know what he did. He took it out of his pocket, bit its head off, and spit it in this girl's lap. Here's what happened. So
Was he
after
high on coke at this point? What was he on to do that? You can't do that sober.
When was he not high? Let's
What
just get that.
what was he taking? Do you know what he was? What was his drug of
by the
choice?
way, you ever sit and you ever go to an Orisha ceremony?
No.
No.
Okay. So what they do is, and by the way, they copy Christianity. Christianity is a blood religion. It's a blood religion. And it makes you think that the energy of earth, based on a bass and a drum, bass energy, like it's an animal instinct. I believe earth has its own energies, and those energies are the muses. And they sit here and they get us to do shit that is not eternal and it's not love. Love is not worshiping someone that killed its own son. It's like, hey, wait a minute, what are you telling me? And then, hocus pocus, I drank this red wine and then I ate this wafer and whoa, now I'm sitting here with you, God. You believe this shit? This is superstition beyond belief. And I live with every energy I can because it fascinates me. I want to know why we don't love each other. I want to know why love is so hard to accomplish. We should all be able to sit there. How could you not feed people? I don't get it. If you fed people, this is Steven Machat at 72, but Steven Machat at 8, 9, 10. It's the same person. I never got it. How do you seriously not feed people? I fed people my whole life. When I've run businesses, I used to tell my partners, do not let them ask me for money. I will give it to them. One guy I had working for me, his baby was born on April 27th, 1985. He comes to me and goes, hey, boss, I need to buy a bassinet. And my partners were like, wait a minute. Get him out of the room. I said, how much you need? He goes, $800. Do you know what he did with the $800? He bought a bassinet so it would have its own blanket. It was a blanket of Coke. And, I didn't know what to say to him. I got so mad that that's how he hustled me out of money. I'll give you money. I've done it my whole life. I will. I can't handle people not happy. I cannot handle people not able to eat. I don't get it. That's why the Cubans is such an attraction to me. We're starving a nation.
So it's
By
a
the way,
wonderful
they
thing.
love Ozzy.
Of
They
course,
don't like
who
Ozzy.
doesn't? Who doesn't love Ozzy's music? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And then
you
Randy Rhoads, what you and I were talking about,
yeah.
you need, I said it to you last week and I thought about it and I said, I can't believe what I just told him. What they did is they put together a solar system called the Blizzard of Oz. So they had the sun, which was the vocalist Ozzy, and Ozzy needed his three planets. His three planets were the guy in guitar, who was Mercury. He had the message, it's in the guitar. Then he had Saturn, which was Bob Daisley. And then he had Jupiter, which was Lee Kerslake, who was perfect. He played the knowledge of the earth, the drums, that would keep you in line in that solar system of energy when you saw Ozzy play live. That's a metaphysical explanation for you.
That's an interesting analogy, right?
Yeah.
You strongly, and there's a lot of evidence to this. The singer, no matter if he's the least talented or most talented, most fans associate the music to that vocalist. So when a band breaks up, the front man could probably get three other stiffs to play the same music,
Yes.
and more people are going to go see him than if the guitar player got a new singer, like Tony Iommi got a new singer. maybe a better singer, Ronnie James Dio,
Yeah,
but people still wanted to see Ozzy, right? There's just
yeah. They want they want that voice. Here's a story for you. It's 1966, and my dad's bringing Dave Clark 5 to our house. And so Dad used to use me as like the young teenage A&R man at this age to show up. It's more than Marty. I got a family, and my son loves music, and he's this, he's that. And he introduces me to Dave Clark, and I meet the members of the band. And there's a keyboard player called Mike Smith. So anyway, I'm talking to them. I didn't know what the hell I was saying. And I told Dave Clark, the drummer, and the name of the band, I love your voice. And he goes, thank you very much, but I don't know if you ever heard my voice. I said, whose voice did I hear? Mike Smith looks at me and goes, you heard my voice. So I look at them and I'm innocent, and I always tell my truth. I look at Mike Smith, I go, why is this not called the Mike Smith Band? And Dave Clark looks at me and goes, your father will explain this to you. I'm the owner of the band. Mike sings for me. And I'm like, okay. And Dave was the drummer. Taught me so much. You know who did that forever? Is Carlos Santana.
But
yeah.
didn't Ozzy do that too? Because Ozzy would assemble these bands, and what Dave was saying last time is that he didn't write a lot of the songs. A lot of the songs were written before he even showed up, right? He
But
sang
that's
on
not
them,
true. No, 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 no.
but
They
some
may
of
have
it,
been,
right?
no, they may have been informed, okay? But someone finished the songs. Someone really finished the songs. And, you know, you may have the greatest song, and it's just missing that one element. And then this guy or that woman may just come and give you 4 or 5 words, and all of a sudden, bingo, it changes. So that's
Well,
why
there
in
was the inherent
copyright,
chemistry between Bob and, well, there's inherent chemistry among all four of those guys, but
yeah,
Bob has said, candidly, yeah, I did most of the lyrics. I did about 95% of them, but Ozzy would throw out a concept or a phrase, and Bob would go like, oh, yeah, that's good. Let me use that. Or, think of the stupid stuff Bob had to create. Ozzy wants an album called Killer Giants and Bark at the Moon. Killer Giants becomes Ultimate Sin, but Bob's got to write based on these stupid song titles like Bark at the Moon. What the hell is that going to be about? Oh, werewolf. Okay. Well, so Bob took like I think Steven was saying earlier, Bob was channeling Ozzy's energy to complete the vision of what Ozzy was thinking about. And that was the genius that pulled those guys together. And they did have a remarkable run in the 90s with 5 great albums. Bob Daisley and Ozzy Osbourne. So I don't want that to get lost in this either, even though the focus was on the Blizzard of Oz. But the
Blizzard
Matt,
of Oz was the solar system, and they broke up. You
right.
don't know how long solar systems are going to last.
But see, and the funny
No,
thing is,
but I think I also picked up last week, Stephen, that it seemed like if you didn't move them from Capitol Records, the band might have stayed together.
Truth, we don't know. But is that a good
Possible.
possibility? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, maybe they would have thrown Ozzy out, and then the Blizzard of Oz may have had a future, and they would have let Ozzy gone by
So,
on its own.
so there's been speculation among fans because Bob and Lee were very candid in that the only guy, and sorry they didn't name you, but the only guy who called them after they got fired was Randy. You didn't even call them. You didn't call Bob.
No, and I was probably I didn't know. All of a
What?
sudden, and I got pissed off at Bob Daisley because he dishonored the handshake I had with him.
Which was?
I said, this is your deal. I will make sure you get paid. Well, we want more. I said, that was never the deal. Never.
Okay.
This is the deal.
Okay.
We didn't really talk to each other, Bob and I. I was pissed off. I don't like people that renege. You know, it's different if you come up to me, and I've had this my whole life. If you say something you can't do, tell me you can't do it. I've used with my friends ever since I was a boy. Don't lie to me. Don't sneak
I'm
behind
the
me.
same way with my kids and my grandkids. Just tell me whatever you got to tell me. Just don't lie to me.
Yeah, don't
I
lie.
already know the answer. That's why I'm asking.
but do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
mean,
But do you think Bob got a fair deal? I mean, he seemed to, didn't he sue Ozzy later? I mean, didn't he kind of get screwed out of royalties?
no. And
No.
yes,
Yeah,
both.
yes, he did get screwed out of royalties, but
He
he
got
went.
screwed out because of his own greed.
But also,
Really?
Steven pointed out he went at the wrong label. He went at Jet, not CBS. And Don was happy to go like,
No,
get
he
off
went
my
to
back.
Jet and not Sharon.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
Sharon was the recipient because I walked away from Princess because I would not hurt Don, and I didn't need Ozzy. I had circuses going on. Could you imagine? I'm handling Genesis, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, and I have New Edition, Bobby Brown, and I have Ultravox from, not Ultravox, I had
Asia.
Visage from England. It was a circus.
Hmm.
Absolute. And I would walk into office every day, and I would be sitting there meeting energies that claimed they would never be able to talk to each other, and they all talked to each other. You know, it was fantastic.
So
But
where
so
are
when
you?
you had all these big energies and these big personalities, what was it specifically about Ozzy that made him so great? Because he had that big concert and you saw pretty much everyone in metal that was anybody was there. And if they weren't there, they wanted to be there.
If,
Why was he so great? How
if
did he
he,
tap into these energies?
because he was talking to the energies.
But how did he do that? What was different? Why
I
didn't
mean,
everyone do
I
that?
could teach you Kundalini. He opens up this is your seventh chakra. He's there. He never was. What society does is it tells you you're crazy, you're talking to noise. We're all noise. If I do that, you just jump, you hit, and now all of a sudden you've lost your focus, and now you're focused on this. You know, you sit there and you listen. The other day we were caught in the rain. We were down in Santo Domingo, and we were caught in the rain, and Debbie and I were really caught in the rain. Debbie, my wife, my partner, my Sharon, or whatever. But anyway, we
She's
got
not
caught
your
in the rain.
Sharon. I'm sure your
What?
wife's very nice.
No, I was blessed. You know. By the way, when Frank Sinatra met my first wife, not kidding around, you know what he said to me? He goes, "Third time's the charm."
You know, I kid you not. He said that to my father-in-law, but he's still married to his first wife, 60 years. So
Yeah, crazy stuff, right?
Wow. You've got some crazy stories, Steve. Like I just like all these like when I start
and, you know,
Googling you,
we got to get them all about Ozzy right now.
we
Like,
do. Yeah, we got to do a
Okay,
tribute.
straight up
hey,
about Ozzy
Steven,
because we need.
You're gonna write. You're a writer. You're an author. You're a legendary author too. In addition to being the Jet Records lawyer, you're gonna write the epitaph for Ozzy for John Michael Osborne. What are you saying?
He was an idolist. He spoke to spirits, and his role as an energy here on planet Earth was to be the court jester. And if you study court jesters in every kingdom, they were the ones that were there to inform you what's going on. They were the ones that could sit there and make fun of the king, and the king would sit there and go, oh, "Isn't he funny?" Not realizing they just took the piss out of him. Ozzy took the piss out of society. And what happened was people who are mad as hell and are not going to take it anymore ran and joined them. And I've been attracted to those energies my whole life, including the energy that took my son from me. You know, I told that to you the other day. The way Baron disappeared, it's the way Randy disappeared. Baron, my son. We'll never know what Randy would have become, but I'll tell you this much. He set off into the sun and left planet Earth, and I know he left here because he's like the little prince, is what you want to. And, you know, I tried to make a movie out of that book. And I also tried to make a movie out of this book called The Giver. And I couldn't get the money, so they went to someone else. But the worst energies are the ones that know what mankind does to each other, and we tell each other, no, we could do something different. You can't do something different unless you make an alternative universe. And the beauty in rock and roll is you're going to speak to people, like the Rolling Stones, right? When I was a kid, that album that Mick Jagger and Keith Richards wrote, Her Sanctity, Magical, and Beggar's Banquet, those two albums, listen to the lyrics in those albums. That's not the guy. That's not the guy who did All Down the Line. But if you listen to All Down the Line, they're telling you about energies. Ozzy Osbourne sang to you, and Bob Daisley helped him. But Bob, if I write the lyrics, not everyone can perform the lyrics. It's like Elton John. Elton John did not write his lyrics. And when I found that out, that it was Bernie Taupin, I felt like the stupidest ass in the room. I'm sitting there with Bernie Taupin, and I'm with Don Arden and Sharon and a guy named Michael that ran Ladome. I still remember this meeting, and they were all sitting there because I fascinated them because I took on Morris Levy an absolute gangster. And using my father's credibility, I sued Morris Levy. I lost because he outsmarted me when he turned over the courts in New Jersey after we won the case. Morris Levy liked me because I wasn't scared of him. And I learned one thing: never borrow money from those type of people, because
Yeah,
then you join their
I
club,
could have told you that.
right? Then you join their club.
Yeah, I mean, my
But
family's from
I'm
Brooklyn.
looking at Bernie Taupin and Elton John, and
Yeah.
I'm telling. So he says to me, "So what song did you like?" I said, "The lyrics you wrote for," because I've always had a problem with why people believe Jesus. An energy of love is now Christ. An energy of hate, control, death, torture, war, hate, death. Let's make slaves. They made the slave trade in 1455. They started the wars in World War One, World War Two. What they do is they have all the muses of war. If I get everyone to go to war with each other, then I come in as the peacemaker after I started the war, and everyone's like, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." It's like, are you kidding me? By the way, here's one for all of you. The current Pope worked at Mercury Records.
Really?
Yep.
Didn't know that.
That's a pretty good piece of trivia there. Cliff Clavin.
No, what he did was he was brought in by the head of human resources, and they needed, and she was part of his church in Chicago.
I, I don't
You
know
know,
what. Okay,
and he only worked
we're
there for
way off
6
track
weeks.
now. This is like I like that Cliff Clavin. That's a great. We're all
Steven
over the
Machat
place.
is the Cliff Clavin of the record industry, no doubt
I
about it.
find this stuff fascinating, though. I do, but I know the
Yeah,
audience wants to hear more about Ozzy and
part 3, we're going to
Ozzy
be really
stories and
focused.
I
parents.
mean, it's
You,
hard for me to say anything other than
okay,
in 2025.
yeah,
I
to
mean,
tie it
it brings.
into
He
to
had the
love,
greatest send off imaginable.
yeah, to
Do
tie
you
it
think
more
he
back
knew?
into.
Do you think he knew?
I said it to you last week. I
No,
said I don't give him much longer
no,
because
no, no. No, I'm asking you the question. Do you think Ozzy knew this has got to get done now because I'm not going to last much longer?
100% true.
Okay.
And by the way, if you have something to live for, you'll get there.
Do you think he was in the hospital the last couple of weeks, or what? Like, how did he? Was he just he was sick and he just died in his
His fall
sleep?
off. I mean, it's
No,
pretty
what he
shocking.
did is seriously, and now we're going to get really spiritual. I believe when you die, your body's energy shuts off. I believe at the moment of death, and I died. I did die, and I came back because I died 2 years ago, and I have doctors that will verify this. And they told my current wife, my love, they said he may not make it, and I just shut off, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing all these things, and I visualized her, and I'm like, I ain't leaving you yet. We have a lot left to do. And I came back, and then they told me I would never walk again. And I'm looking at these doctors and I'm like, fuck you. And I went through therapy. And it took me one time, two times, three times. And then finally I'm walking. And I'm an ex-marathon runner. And now I was walking 25-minute miles and then 20. And now I'm down to about 13 or 14. I ain't leaving. And anyway, going straight to Ozzy, there's a point where you did what you need to do, and there's nothing left for him to do. What was he going to do after that fantastic send off? He's sitting there. He's in the king's chair, and I can't express on a very eternal level how beautiful it was, and what Sharon did for him. No queen wife would ever be able to top what she did. She sent Ozzy off as the king of not darkness, the king who tries to twist the shadows so you see what you're doing. You don't understand. You're hiding light. And I can't say enough. And all those people sitting there singing and coming to Birmingham, it was beautiful. It was
No,
a
it,
great
Yeah,
send off.
it set the bar. It set the bar for send offs for bands. Now Ozzy, as you said, and I agree with this. I've always thought this. He's a court jester. It depends how you view that, right? But that he was the clown. He tried to make people laugh and be goofy and do crazy things.
There's a
And
guy named YT Johnson. I'm just interrupting. And YT, I agree with you 100%. They knew he was going to die. And they were waiting for him to die. And This is a beautiful send off, and he's not dead. He's out of body, and now Ozzy's got a choice. And that's another book I wrote. And all I want to do is before I die, I want to give the world what I know to be true. I'm a matrix buster. You came into this matrix for a reason. You are not stuck in this matrix. You could reincarnate or you could ascend. Reincarnation is the entire Hindu religion. Not really, but reincarnated. I'm coming back. They want you back. You're an energy. They want you back here on Earth. Or you could ascend, which is what the Egyptians were teaching people. You know, and I write these books, and I just want to give you what I know. We're visitors here on Earth. Enjoy it. Build a society. Build love. Ozzy died with love. He died with his family, and I can't say enough.
Okay. Yeah. So there we are with an Ozzy passed away. Do you I mean now cuz we were going to we were going to kind of like talk some shit about Sharon or kind of expose some things. And now it's like do you have more like sympathy for her, your condolences? I mean, you knew her.
There's two Steven Machats, okay? So there's Steven Machat, there's micro and macro. So let me change the definition. Micro means the present. What's going on right here, right now? That's a different set of emotions than macro. So micro, let's call it a game of checkers. I take you, you take me, it's black versus red or whatever colors you play with. But the game of chess is macro, not micro.
Right.
I'm giving you macro answers of Sharon. Because, yes, in the game of checkers to figure out her position, she didn't get in my way. I didn't want to manage Ozzy Osbourne for years. I don't want to manage anyone for years. I want to manage my life discovering, as if I'm the little prince, everything that gets in my way. What Sharon did is Sharon gave you Ozzy, and she kept Ozzy here. Okay, let's say 1980 or whatever you want. That's 45 years she kept him here. It's
I
fantastic.
will exceed the point because I've always, and we talked about this at the beginning. At the beginning of that band, Sharon was nowhere to be found. She wasn't involved. It's a lie that she concocted. But at some point when she took over the managerial, she had to keep that guy in line. She did a good job, but she also let that guy cancel a lot of shows because he didn't get his drugs. So there were a lot of things going on. We won't get into this, but
But
she
by the way, let me ask you something. Do you know
she's
how
what
old
you want
people?
as a manager. She goes to bat for if she
Yeah,
picks you.
I mean,
She,
everyone needs drugs. I mean, right now, what are you drinking? You're drinking Red Bull? I mean, come on.
no, I'm
Do you
drinking
know?
water. I'm drinking pure water and lemonade.
By the
Water
way,
for
I
me
am too.
too.
And I'll never forget the first time when I grabbed a drink, and I didn't know it, and I drank this because I love water. I have to be lubricated, and what I did was, it was all vodka. I'm like, are you kidding me? By the way, I did Donny Osmond's comeback. This is for your listeners. So one day I'm sitting with Donny Osmond, and anyway, I'm doing his comeback. Ozzy was barely, Cinch barely during that filming show, I think. Someone's here saying that Ozzy was injured badly during that family show with an ATV. That's sad.
I
Well,
didn't know, I
now,
wasn't aware of that.
now,
Oh,
Steven,
yeah.
what did you think? What did you think? Ozzy's this iconic heavy metal guy, the Prince of Darkness. He's in the '90s. He gets a little more. The music is a little more commercial. There's some sappiness with "Mama, I'm Coming Home" right now.
What a
Or
great song.
no,
Right?
No?
But I mean,
Randy Rhoads would not write something that cheesy.
no,
I
What
know.
not being
what
cheesy,
about
but
when he transcends that
everyone honors
even?
their mothers, right?
What about Perry Mason? Do you like that song, Dave? I love that. I thought that
So
song was badass.
I'm just gonna tell you right now, Chuck. I grew up in Ozzy was on my wall since 1982. I loved Ozzy, huge fan. I've seen him 20 times or
When were
so.
you born? Like 68?
Come on, I'm not that old. Do I look? No, I was born in 1970. Okay,
Oh,
in that
they
range.
said 1968. I'm
I know
not that
it's a
far
good
off.
guess.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
Close.
hoping to say like 1975, but that's
So
okay.
you missed the moon landing.
I did well. Yeah, I missed the moon landing, but I loved every Ozzy album really until Down to Earth when I started to go like, this one's it's a little different. And then I looked at the credits, as I think every fan should do, know who's in the band, know who's writing. And I see the producers written most of this album. I think Tim Palmer. And that's when Ozzy started to kind of go. Ozzy lost the plot when he didn't have his band write the music. He started having the producers write it. And then he does that. He does the reality show, The Osbournes. Did you think he had jumped the shark at that point, Steven? I kind of thought. And then they re-record the two masterpieces. Did you think the Osbournes were kind of going from Ozzy was going from mega heavy metal frontman, iconic Mount Rushmore to kind of a everybody? I remember the day I came home to visit my mom. I came for dinner. She has the Osbournes on, and suddenly I'm like, "You hate Ozzy?" So I love this show. I'm like, I think I'm out.
By the way, in reflection, which we are,
That's funny, Dave. I like that. I'm out.
that showed you who we were as a society. That show was a home run. Look, another show made Donald Trump our president.
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be president without that show. They
So,
put this guy on a TV show that he's the greatest businessman in the world. You're fired. And I'm like, what are they putting on TV? And look where it went. And MTV with Ozzy Osbourne, I may be wrong, but that's one of the first whatever TV shows on MTV. People were tired of watching videos, you know?
No, it had become the reality. The reality TV channel became
16 and Pregnant, The Real World, and
yeah,
music anymore. Right? It was, but then in 2005, Ozfest happens, and they have a band called Iron Maiden, and Bruce Dickinson decides, you know what, I'm going to make fun of Ozzy for being a reality star. I'm just going to swing at him from the stage, and it sets Sharon off. And I don't know if you know this story, Stephen, but then she decides to attack him in San Bernardino, pull their music, have them egged, Now, Sharon has revised her story on this many times, which is always amusing. But it went from having she hired 20 Hispanic kids to egg Iron Maiden to now it's 20 of her cancer nurses who helped her through chemo. So this lady, I just, when the biopic comes out next year, I can't wait to see what.
Is there one? Really?
Ozzy and Sharon's biopic is coming. Now, what's going to happen to his last rites memoir? He probably finished it before he passed, and they're going to release it later this year.
Speaking of Sharon, though, have you seen her lately with the Ozempic stuff? She's really struggling to put on weight. She doesn't look good.
By the way, I'm a type 1 diabetic, all right? So, and I've lived my whole life with this shit. And I'm just telling you, I don't care what any pharmaceutical company tells you. You start playing with insulin like that, you are asking for trouble. Because my body, I wouldn't take that shit. I wouldn't believe forget my language, a fucking word out of any pharmaceutical company.
Oh, preach, brother.
Uh-oh.
I'm with you on that.
All right, let's go back to Ozzy.
Totally with you. Okay, don't get us started on pharmaceutical companies, Dave.
That's left us
way to lose weight
at 76.
If you get me started on pharmaceutical companies, I'm going to talk more than Steve.
Yeah, no, we're gonna put back to Ozzy, and I will say this though, because Sharon to me has no ethics. I love that her face is now representing her inner beauty. She's getting uglier by the day. It's wonderful, and I love it.
Okay, but that is not the message that Steve is sending about love and peace and music.
I love that she's getting uglier by the day. I love
okay. Well, that is love.
I mean, Sharon, and it's...
Oh, boy.
Some people evolve.
She's going to sue us now.
I haven't spoken to her in years.
I'll cover it.
When she told me I married a dumb bitch.
What?
I got into a fight with Sharon one day. She calls, why are you doing this? Right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you're just fucking trash. You married that dumb bitch. I said, you know who introduced me to her? She goes, yeah, I did. So fuck you. And she hung up on me. She introduced me to wife one.
No class. No class.
Wow.
I won't even get it. Like, we could spend another hour, another 10 years on this, but I was told that Sharon did kick somebody at Randy Castillo's funeral. So that tells you the kind of person she is. So
she did what? Say it again?
Kicked a musician because she was pissed at him during the funeral.
Who was it? You can't say?
Yeah, I will not say. I will not say.
Is it someone famous or?
It's a musician who was in Ozzy's band, and
Oh,
it was at Randy Castillo's funeral, and Sharon went total psychotic, low class, as she normally does. So I'll just leave it
but
at
do you
that.
think that, okay, Steve, you can answer this question. Do you think that that is because I interview a lot of people and I always talk about success. Do you think that is a big part of success is being a bit of a bitch or an asshole? Like you have to step on people to get ahead because Ozzy didn't seem to do that, but Sharon did.
By the way, I think capitalism is a joke. I don't believe in capitalism. It's a
Hey,
word
I
that
don't
was
like getting my
created.
econ degree
I'm
here.
going to answer you specifically now. It's
Right.
a word that was created in 1854. It had nothing to do with Adam Smith and the wealth of nations. Capitalism teaches you to lie, steal, and cheat, covert, do whatever you have to do to get ahead. It's disgusting. You know how you win? I told it to you when we started this. 1+1 is not 2. It's whatever you can create together. We should live in a world that teaches creation, not fucking banks sitting there charging you in the Federal Reserve 30% interest. And I watch a nation of fools sit there trying to pay the budget when the budget is automatically begins with a 30% deficit or thereabouts because we pay the Federal Reserve to distribute that cash. That is how dumb Americans are. We are the only nation that does not have their own coin or coinage. We don't have a US dollar. We have a Federal Reserve note. John Kennedy was shot because he created the silver certificate that was financed by the United States Commerce. The Federal Reserve does this. And I'm waiting for someone, and I tried for many years. And this is what I've done in between managing bands. I really believe that this world could become a world based on love. And it's through song and dance. And that's why I've spent my whole life playing with different artists everywhere to discover the common denominator. Like with Ozzy Osbourne songs like Crazy Train, that wasn't a negative song. That was a song of energy. It's like, here we go, my generation,
Absolutely
let's go.
positive song. Absolutely.
What?
There's no doubt about it. That's who Bob was. He was a positive guy.
Bob is, I'm telling you, he's an idolist. He definitely, look, I like Bob so much, I put out his surf music.
What? He had surf music? I don't think I knew about this.
He
Bob's going
calls me
back to the
up.
well, I think, on a few things.
What?
Jerry Mungo,
No, no,
kind
he
of
had
music,
surf music.
blues.
I put it out.
Yeah, yeah. I,
I put it out
you,
in 2000, when COVID came, 2020, 21. And then I was going to market it because it was fantastic. I didn't know he liked surf. I call it surf music. It was all guitars, and it was definitely music you could go out there and just float away. And I put it out for him,
no,
and it didn't work.
you know, this is for next time because it will be a next time.
We'll do a part 3.
Yeah, I was stunned that Bob and Steven were friends actually because of the lawsuit in the 2000s. But I won't. I'm not going to get into that. But I'll save that for next time. But my question to you,
By the
Steven,
way, I helped him in 2000.
you did. But I felt you should have. I felt you should have. Well, I'm not going to get into what I felt, so I'll say that for next time. But so, do you think Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne, did he die being in love with Sharon, or did they have a marriage of compromise to be a power couple?
There's two types of love.
Okay.
Okay, there's physical love as a beast, and there's spiritual love that has no physical requirements. I believe that Sharon and Ozzy, and I don't know, but I believe they had that eternal love. I really believe that.
Now,
I
is it not true? Now, I heard, or I may have read this. Maybe it was your book, but because I've read a few, so they all kind of go together at this point. But there was kind of an indication that Ozzy was telling Dawn, "Please save me from Sharon. She scares me."
By the
Essentially.
way, he definitely did that.
Okay.
And Don called me up, right? He called me up. He goes, "Where the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He says, "He called, and I'm gonna go get him out. He was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and then he went there, and then Sharon got there before him, and blah blah blah, and whatever, whatever." When she called the police, yeah, I'm, you know, every
Okay.
one of us, you got to look at who and what you are, right? And by the way,
When did you cut off?
I'm an ex-public defender. I'm a lot of things, right? But
Oh
I
yeah, you're a
understand.
jack of all trades. There's no doubt about it. But my question is, when did you cut off really talking to and representing the Osbournes? When they left Jet Records?
No. When they left Princess, in 1984, she came into my office in New York City, and she wanted me to give her all the books and records of Princess Production and Ozzy. And I'm like, I'm not giving it to you. And she goes, why not? I'm going to buy them from you. This is a true story. Everything I'm telling you is true. And I'm like, Sharon, and this was at 1501 Broadway. I looked at her, I go, Sharon, no. I said, I need your father to tell me I could send it to you. Fuck him and blah, blah, blah. And I looked her in the eye like I'm looking at you. And I said, your father is your father. I'm not going to engage in that. And I'm not going to take the money to give you all the books and records. No. I said, if your father tells me to give it to you, I will. If you and your father get together, I will. And my father looks at me afterwards, and my dad looks at me and he goes, when did you fall on your head? Because
What?
he couldn't believe I
He
didn't
said
want the
no.
money. What?
He couldn't believe he said no.
Yeah.
Wow. But eventually, Dawn told you the answer is yes.
No, I never gave her the books and records.
I thought she acquired all the masters in the beyond when the Jet Records was being sued.
No, what happened was, I'm talking about the books and records, all the communications and what went on.
Oh, okay.
What they're calling the Jeffrey Epstein files, right? The Ozzy Osbourne files.
Do you know anybody that went to that place?
Yeah.
We all do, right? You know Bill Clinton. You know
No,
Donald.
but do you have any personal connect? Because you're connected to all these guys. Like you're connected to these big name people, these big lawyers. These you don't know anybody?
I knew a lot of people, but I mean, you just had to look at Jeffrey Epstein, and why would you go near something like that? By the way, you want big names? I know Prince Andrew,
Yeah.
and when I was with him in 2009, it's in my book Gods and Gangsters. I I was fascinated because this was an extremely bright man, Prince Andrew. You know, and he was the second son, so obviously there's family problems. I did say to him in public with the big table around me, I said to him, I don't understand why you would ever have a relationship with that guy. He is the epitome of a putz.
Good call.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have to look hard to see this is something you don't need to trust. If you look me in the eye, let's go. If you look at me like that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Red flags.
Crazy story. Well, Dave, do you have anything else? I know YT has had a bunch of questions here, and
He,
he's stayed with
he
us.
is, and they're good questions, but I think maybe we shelve them for the
Oh,
next one because they're more. We want to get back into the reason we started talking was to get the truth about the Blizzard of Oz, get that 3 year period, band fired, Randy stays, energies come together. We want
well,
to get
is
up.
there anything that hasn't been already revealed in books, either by Steve or other people? Is there any information that is not in the public sector that you want to reveal right now? I
You
thought that was initially the
what you
reason for
should
this.
do, if
You
I
wanted
may,
to reveal some information that nobody knew.
why don't we let Ozzy rest? And then I'm here. I mean, I enjoy the both of you. It's
I enjoy, I
So,
enjoy
all
you
you're
too,
doing is
even though
picking
some
my
of the
brain.
commenters are not. They think I'm doing a bad job, and I apologize. I
they
don't
love what
know.
you're doing. They love what you're doing, Chuck. You're doing a great. This is a difficult situation,
It
Stephen.
is. I mean, what
Very
are you
I
gonna
difficult.
don't like
say?
interrupting when
Be
he goes. I
informative.
enjoy it. I'm entertained. I
But
don't.
no, Chuck, the original premise was bring Stephen on because I tried to get him to do Q&A writing it. He said, no, let's do this live. I said, okay, I got to let me find a great podcaster who might be open to this. It was you. And it's really to get at, there's a bunch of myths out there and a bunch of stories, and we're trying to get Stephen to confirm or deny a lot of these. Not all of it's covered in the books, and some of it isn't covered in books because depending on who wrote it, they may not want you to really know about that version. Now, Bob probably doesn't want people to know that he reneged on a deal, and that's why it may have opened the Pandora's box and he might have led to his own demise. So, you
But
know,
you know something? That's Bob. Bob is an extremely What's so easy? Bob is Bob.
Bob is
Bob
Bob.
is aware of a lot of shit. He
Bob
wants
is
to
a
know
great
more
memory.
shit. And
Yeah.
then if he knows something, he knows it, but he doesn't understand, which doesn't mean it's true. It, because there's 360 views. If you look at yourself as a circle, so he may be stuck at 15 minutes after the hour. Sometimes you need someone to kick you in the button to get you minutes 16 and 17. And yeah, you saw it from that angle and you're like that, but you didn't see it from that. Everything
Right.
depends on
Right.
where you're sitting.
Right.
And
There's
what you want is you want all
panoramic view. You don't see
360
everything, right?
degrees. Yeah.
Yeah. We
Why
we
why
want to
did
get
they
at the
do it?
truth. We just want to get at the truth. And get rid of the lies, drown out the noise, and get closer to the center. And
And
that's
then
what I
the
think we're
truth
going to do.
is, if I may share this, the truth is the one in control with the air. What made you move forward?
Right.
There you go.
Right. Okay.
Why do you do what you did? Some noise sat in your head and said, go straight.
True. All right.
Okay, before we go, this is something I need to get cleared up. I'm a Motley Crue fan. They toured with Ozzy. The ant thing. This what was he snorting ants or piss? Is that true? Were you there for that, or did you hear the story?
Okay, let's say he was snorting ants, right?
Okay.
You ever drink tequila
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
when
used
you
to,
have
not
the
anymore.
things inside it, the
Yeah.
crickets?
The
And by the way,
worm?
do you know in different countries they fry ants and you could eat ants?
Yeah. Of
No.
course. It's a delicacy. Yes.
It is. It is protein.
Chuck, to answer your question, and I know this because this is what I read as a kid. I would absorb Hit Parader and Sleep with Circus and Look at Faces. So I would absorb all this, and this is why I started to turn in the 2000s because I'm like, Ozzy stories aren't really reconciling to what other people are saying. Jakey Lee will tell you Ozzy never snorted ants. He was there right with them, and that he was just going to the ground and pretending like he was doing something. So Motley Crue, and let's be honest, those guys have no credibility whatsoever. I mean, Nicky's been caught lying many times. Tommy Lee, like, is that guy's IQ even hit 100? So those guys aren't even believable. Jakey Lee, I'll tell you a funny story. Jakey Lee in 1983, 1985 did an interview with Kerrang! Magazine. He talked about Motley Crue wanted to fire Mick Mars in 1983 on the tour. 35 years later, somebody brings this up. Nikki Sixx says, Jake's just looking for his 5 minutes of fame again. Up pops the Krang interview. Is like, oh, well, here it is. And then Bob Daisley says, no, Motley Crue asked me if they should fire Mick Mars. He's all, Bob Daisley actually saved Motley Crue and Mick Mars because they wanted to fire him for Jakey Lee, who's a much better guitar player. So Nikki Sixx is a liar. He's been caught many times. Vince Neil's a drunk. Tommy Lee's a clown and a buffoon. So I'm going to.
And so what do you really think?
Wow. Yeah. No, that's why I like having Dave on because he's not afraid to talk shit. Like he doesn't care. Nobody's gonna, he's not worried about having to get guests on his podcast like Nikki Sixx coming on my podcast. So I have to be very nice and respectful. But yeah.
Yes,
No,
I can be very candid because I already have done the assessment. Well, I'm in finance, so I knew I'm just a fan. I admire what you do, Chuck. It's great. Steven, you're an author. I don't have time to write, but I always knew
I'm an instigator.
you're okay. Well, then you and I
I
can relate.
create
I always
energy.
knew I couldn't do a podcast because I've alienated half of the rock musicians probably somewhere along the line with a comment at them. Nikki Sixx has blocked me. Neil Sean has blocked me. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So they were never. As I told Steven, I like to ask fastball type questions. A lot like Eddie Trunk will throw a lot of softballs. That's not what we want.
No,
We
I
already know a
appreciate
lot of
it.
the answers to the questions he asks. So
All
all
right.
right.
So let's, give it like 8 days. Let everything rest.
Okay.
Let's put him. Let's put his body. Let his body go back to Earth, and then let's go at it. And he can
Okay.
watch us. He can watch us from the other dimension, because
now
you know
I got
he'll
a
be
question.
there.
I got a hypothetical for you. If you believe in heaven and hell, is Ozzy going toward heaven, or is he going down south? And if he
What I
goes to
believe.
heaven, Is he going up to Randy Rhoads and going, "Sorry, man, I lied for 45 years"?
What I really believe is there is no hell. Hell is what you make it. And if you're living with regret,
Well, he lived with hell if you count Sharon, but I won't get into that.
yeah, I mean, if you come, they tell you karma. What's karma? Karma means you didn't release. The most important thing anyone could do in their life is let it go. Don't let it haunt you because it's not real. It happened. You can't change it. Let it go. Grow from it. Let it go. If you learn to let it go, then you have no need and no desire to stay here anymore. Let it go, and it will go.
All right. On that note, I think we'll end it, and we'll be back in a week or so.
All right.
All right.
Hey,
God
everyone.
bless Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, let's salute the man. I hope he goes where he needs to be, right?
Yeah.
His
Me too.
karma is going to.
No matter what you think of the man, he's a legend.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you the
absolutely.
best answer I can. His karma is going to choose where he goes.
There you go.
Away from Sharon. So that's all I know.
Maybe he's waiting for it, and then they'll both figure out where to go, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks, guys.